Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast here on OKKC Sports. I'm your host, Kyle Walker, and thank you so very much for joining us. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. First and foremost, before we even dive into the show, it is Sunday, May 8th, the day we are recording this show. So happy Mother's Day, everybody. If you are a mother, a grandmother, a stepmother, a foster mother, a dog mother, or any mother in between, we want to say thank you for all that you do and for all the rest of us regular non-mother people. And we appreciate it and nothing but love. I hope you are enjoying and getting spoiled on your very special day. So happy Mother's Day, everyone, from the Back of the Pack podcast. Another 5K weekend for me in the books. Nothing too big or scary. I went out and did the Cass County 5K for health. It was the first time I've ever done this race. So honestly, it was just nice doing a new course and a new setting, a new event. And really, I was very pleasantly surprised. So if anyone from that race who runs that race or organizes that race, kudos to you guys. That was actually a very fun event. The race itself, I mean, just a very standard 5K. Because it is a rather small 5K, they do not spend the funds to close down roads. So for at least the first half of it, we were just running on sidewalks. And then for the second half, we were on a paved trail through a park, which was actually very pretty. But if I did have one complaint, it's running on sidewalks. That kind of slows you down a little bit, especially as it's harder to get around people and pass. Thankfully, congestion was not too bad, but it was still a thing. Did it affect my time greatly? No. And the leaders, I'm sure, were fine as they were ahead of the fray. But yeah, the running on sidewalks was kind of a bummer. But yeah, we set out, hit the sidewalks, went to the end. It started at a local high school. So there's plenty of parking and plenty of kind of area before you even get to main roads where you could really build up. Took a turn, went along a main road for a while, but we were on the sidewalk, turned around, just basically went around the whole school complex until we got to this park and then ran through that. Finished on a nice downhill into the football stadium. So really, it was very nice. It was held at Belton High School out in Belton, Missouri. They were represented by there were other high schools there as well. Raymore Peculiar was there, Belton High School. And then, there was another one, and now it's totally escaping me. But there was a marching band that came out. There were cheerleaders that would cheer people as they came down the finisher chute. Tons of vendors, because again, this is all for health in Cass County. So there were chiropractors, doctors' offices, dentists, things of that nature who were out there giving away things and talking to folks. There was food to be had. It was a nice event. So if that's something you want to maybe look at doing next year, I encourage you to run that 5K. I hope that it will be scheduled on a day where I have no other conflicts and I can go back and do it because I rather enjoyed that race. So I would love to know what everyone else ran this weekend. I don't think there was a lot of races here in town that were, big ones. There was, let's see, I know there was Tower to Tower was out there. I've never run that race. I'll aim for that one maybe next year as well. And then I don't think there are any other big races here in the Kansas City area where I'm at. So it's kind of a rare weekend with a little bit of a lull. Now, I can tell you that is going to change because next weekend I'll be back at the half marathon distance as I will be running with the cows in Bucyrus, Kansas for the very last time. Still totally breaks my heart that they are ending this race this weekend. This is it. This is for all the marbles. And then we will not be going out to Bucyrus, Kansas for another half marathon again, unless this is somehow revitalized, revamped, made into something different. But I'm definitely bummed. So all you people with Running with the Cows, the town of Bucyrus and the race organizers, thank you very much for what you've done over these last, I think this is somewhere around 14, 15 years that this race has been going on. I think it's in that neighborhood. I haven't done all of them, but I've done a lot of them. And it is definitely one of my top 5 favorite half marathons every year. So, thank you for all the fun memories. And I hope, whatever the reason is that this is ending, I hope it's a good decision and is beneficial to those that it needs to benefit. But I will be out there for Running with the Cows just one more time in Bucyrus. I would love to see some folks out there. If you're running the race, find me in the Back of the Pack t-shirt. I can give you a sticker, I've got wristbands now, got some keychains, and shirts are available on the website. We will get to the point where I can give away a shirt or two for someone who finds me at a race. That'll be super fun. Again, we're still growing. We're still getting there. A lot goes into, beginning a podcast like this and, trying to make it successful. So trust me, I want to give away all the swag. I really do. It'd just be nice if it didn't all come out of my pocket, but that's okay. I actually don't care. I bought the bracelets and I think they're awesome. So if you want a Back of the Pack podcast bracelet, let me know. I will gladly hook you up. And that was one of the surprises I was talking about last week. So what we're going to dive into, because there's not a lot of race stuff to talk about, and who knows, this might be one of the shorter episodes of the show, but we have a situation coming up here in Kansas. And while I wasn't ready to talk about this particular subject this early in the year, I feel like we're going to need it, and we're going to need it sooner rather than later. Coming up in Kansas this week, we have our first heat wave of the year. Yes, last week we were dealing with temperatures in the 40s and 50s, and it felt like a very cold spring. Well, spring said, the heck with that. Let's go ahead and throw some midsummer at everybody. And we've got the 90s coming up starting tomorrow. And we've got about 7 to 10 days of mid 90s, lower 90s, and upper 80s weather heading our way. And if you have been running for more than one season, you know that running in warm weather is a completely different beast altogether. It really is. Running in hot weather just drains you so much faster than anything else. Now, look, I don't like running in the cold. I will take hot over cold, and I know that puts me in the minority, shall we say, of that debate. But in cold weather, it's really hard to get loose and to get your muscles loose and to really kind of find your rhythm and find your breathing, because cold air really, affects how well you breathe. But the running in the hot weather is no picnic either. Now, your muscles do loosen up quicker. You're definitely not as stiff, but if it's too hot, you will again have trouble breathing, and it can really affect your run. So we're going to look and see what is said industry-wide, not really industry-wide, but about running in the heat. And of course, we go to the first place I'll go is Runner's World, because they kind of know what they're talking about. I know that seems shocking. Runner's World knows what they're talking about. So here's what they say about running in the heat. Because of the heat and humidity, most people wouldn't pick summer as their favorite season for outdoor exercise, walking and running included. Yeah, no kidding. Spring and fall, definitely more along our lines. So here's some tips that they've got for running in hot weather. And how they put it is to optimize your hot weather workouts, along with ways to prevent some common heat-related illnesses. And the first one, and this is kind of a no-brainer. A lot of these are no-brainers, but even still, I feel like they're worth talking about. It's just consider it a refresher, because it's been a while. I don't know where you guys are running at, but it hasn't been hot here so far in 2022, but it's coming now. The first one, make adjustments. Don't do long or higher intensity workouts during the heat of the day. If you must run at midday, pick routes with some shade. As a general rule, start your workouts slower than you usually do. And if you're feeling good halfway through, it's okay to speed up a little bit. I will tell you, I am the worst at this. It seems like whenever it gets crazy hot outside, that's when I decide I'm going to go do a lunchtime run at a school track, because the kids are all out for summer and the school track is open. Well, there's no shade. You're on hot blacktop trying to run laps in 100 degrees. I'm the worst at this. And I know this about myself. It's like it's my excuse to work on my tan or something. But boy, I make dumb decisions when it comes to that. Next one, wear as little as possible. Wear apparel that's light in color, lightweight, and has vents or mesh. Microfiber, polyesters, and cotton blends are good fabric choices. Also, be sure to wear a hat, shades, and sunscreen with an SPF of 30 or higher. Okay, that makes sense. Dress cool. Tank tops are definitely going to be the way of the world coming up here pretty soon. I've already ordered my Back of the Pack tank top. Have you? You can at www.backofthepackpodcast.com. Go to the store, order yourself a tank top. I've got 2 of them coming because they're going to get a lot of use this year. Next one, and this one makes sense. Watch your alcohol and meds. Alcohol, antihistamines, and antidepressants can all have a dehydrating effect. Using them just before a run can make you have to pee, compounding your risk of dehydration. Okay, now the alcohol is kind of a no duh. But did you all know about that? Know that about the antihistamines? I didn't know that. I did not know that those would, basically dry you out and can help lead to dehydration. So if you are an allergy sufferer, like my oldest daughter is greatly, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. And again, I didn't know that. I'm learning something new every day. Next one, drink early and often. Top off your fluid stores with 16 ounces of sports drink an hour before you head out. Then toss down 5 to 8 ounces of sports drink about every 20 minutes while working out. Sports drinks beat water because they contain electrolytes, which increase your water absorption rate. Easy for me to say. Replace the electrolytes you lose in sweat and taste good, making it easy to drink more. Again, makes sense to me. Next one, be patient. Give yourself 8 to 14 days to acclimatize to hot weather, gradually increasing the length and intensity of your training. In that time, your body will learn to decrease your heart rate, decrease your core body temperature, and increase your sweat rate. Now, I love this in theory. The problem for a lot of us runners, if you have races planned and coming up, those races are scheduled. Heat waves are not. So I know that starting tomorrow, we're going to hit 90 degrees. On Saturday, when I do that half marathon, we are looking at high humidity and 84 degrees. It will probably be the hottest running of this particular race that I've ever done. So while I would love to let my body acclimatize to these temperatures, the race is scheduled and the heat wave is coming when the heat wave gets here. So again, in theory, I love this idea, and it's definitely something to keep in mind. But you also have to understand that a lot of times this stuff is out of your realm of control. Do the best that you can. Next, seek grass and shade. It's always hotter in cities than in surrounding areas because asphalt and concrete retain heat. If you must run in an urban or even a suburban area, look for shade. Any park will do, and try to go in the early morning or late evening. Makes sense. Check the breeze. If possible, start your run going with the wind and then run back with a headwind. Running into the wind has a cooling effect, and you'll need that in the second half of a run. Another one, that's new to me, but it makes sense. Now, I hate wind, no matter what, when, who, how, why, whatever. I hate running in the wind. It's a mental thing with me. But it does make sense to try and use that as a cooling agent as you're doing your runs. Again, that's if you can. If it's a training run, you can plan that way. If it's a race, you just go where the arrows point you to. Next one, head out early or late. Even in the worst heat wave, it cools off significantly by dawn. Get your run done then, and you'll feel good about it all day. Can't fit it in? Wait until evening. Then the sun's rays aren't as strong. Just don't do it so late that it keeps you from getting to sleep. So yeah, in the heat, and I need to get better about this myself. And that's really going to be my goal as I start training for Berlin, my Berlin Marathon 16-week training program that I will post for everyone to, take a look at, do it if you want. It starts in July. It actually starts on the 4th of July. And so I will not be looking at any cool weather runs for that entire training program, which means I'm going to have to embrace the early morning run for 16 weeks. There's no choice, because as hot as it gets in Kansas, you can't run in the afternoon. You will not get your long runs done if you try. You got to be very careful and up very early to take advantage of the cooler temperatures. Next one, it says slow down. Every 5-degree rise in temperature above 60 degrees can slow your pace by as much as 20 to 30 seconds per mile. So don't fight it, just slow down. So that's actually fascinating right there. So anything above 60 degrees is going to slow your pace, I guess, as we're kind of getting acclimated to running in higher temperatures. I would have thought that number would have been higher than 60 degrees, but I guess 60 degrees is the number. So 65, you're going to get a little slower. 70 can get a little slower. 75 and really above, that I understand. Then you're sweating early and often, and that can bring down your times. Next, it says run in water. Substitute one weekly outdoor walk or run with a pool running session of the same duration. If you're new to pool running, use a flotation device and simply move your legs as if you're running on land with a slightly exaggerated forward lean and vigorous arm pump. Okay, I've never done that. I have absolutely never done a pool jog or pool run, but color me interested. I am fortunate enough that I am in a neighborhood that has a community pool. So I'm wondering if maybe this year I should start working that in for some training. In my head, in theory, this seems like a great idea. This seems like it could be really beneficial. I hope that it is. So I guess we're going to find out. But if you have any prior experience with pool running, Share it with us. Let us know what you think. I'm super curious now. So yeah, please, if you have experience, comment and let us know. So now here are how to prevent some heat-related illnesses. Okay, because again, this heat stuff is no joke. First off, we have heat cramps. The cause, of course, is dehydration, leads to an electrolyte imbalance. The symptoms, severe abdominal or large muscle cramps. The treatment, restore salt balance with foods or drinks that contain sodium. And then prevention, don't run in the heat until acclimatized and stay well hydrated with sports drink. Okay, makes sense. Next is heat fainting. The cause often brought on by sudden stop that interrupts blood flow from the legs to the brain. And the symptom is fainting. Treatment, after the fall, elevate legs and pelvis to help restore blood flow to the brain. Prevention, cool down gradually after a workout with at least 5 minutes of easy jogging and walking. Next one, heat exhaustion. This is a big one, so pay attention to heat exhaustion. The cause is dehydration, leads to an electrolyte imbalance. Core body temperature of 102 to 104 is a symptom. Headache, fatigue, profuse sweating, nausea, and clammy skin. The treatment, rest and apply a cold pack on the head, neck. Also restores salt balance with foods and drinks with sodium. And then prevention, don't run hard in the heat until acclimatized and stay well hydrated with sports drink. Okay, so heat exhaustion is huge. So I wanted to break that down a little more. Here's more symptoms that we have for heat exhaustion. Okay, cool, moist skin with goosebumps when in the heat, heavy sweating, faintness, dizziness, fatigue, weak, rapid pulse, low blood pressure upon standing, muscle cramps, nausea, and headache. So when do you want to go see a doctor about this? If you think you're experiencing the heat exhaustion, here's what you can do. Stop all activity and rest, move to a cooler place, drink cool water or sports drinks. And then if you have any of those symptoms and they get worse, call a doctor. Okay. So I wanted to break that down just a little more and give you a few more symptoms because heat exhaustion is real and that will mess you up. So let me see here. The next one, and we're going to break this down as well. Heat stroke. So you have heat exhaustion. And then if you want to crank it up to 11, you go with heat stroke. So the cause is extreme exertion and dehydration impair your body's ability to maintain an optimal temperature. The symptoms, the core body temperature of 104 and more, headache, nausea, vomiting, rapid pulse, and disorientation. The treatment, emergency medical treatment, and it's necessary for immediate ice water immersion and IV fluids. And then prevention, don't run hard in the heat until acclimatized, stay well hydrated with sports drink. So again, heat stroke, another biggie. And let's take just a little closer look on that. Here's some more symptoms: throbbing headache, dizziness and lightheadedness, lack of sweating despite the heat, red, hot, and dry skin, muscle weakness or cramps, nausea and vomiting, rapid heartbeat, which may be either strong or weak, rapid shallow breathing, behavioral changes such as confusion, disorientation, or staggering, seizures, and unconsciousness. Now, look, I'm not just saying this for yourself, okay? I know a lot of you might be like, I know how to run the heat, no big deal, done it before, been there, done that, got it. You know, you're kind of flapping your gums here, guy. And I get that, but what about your running buddy? What about that guy in the running group who's new? You know, I see posts all the time of the running groups that go out. And, you know, one of the reasons I've always been afraid to is I'll be the new guy. And I know I'm the guy who's not as fast as everyone else. Well, let's say a guy like me goes out to your running group and he falls behind the pack and he suffers from one of these things, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. You know, you got to be able to recognize this in someone else and not just yourself. Because if you're out with someone else, then you're the one that has to try and help this situation. So I, of course, suggest let's call emergency personnel. But, keep an eye out for a lot of these things because it happens. I see it all the time. You'll see it too at warm weather races, of which a lot are coming up. It's not uncommon to see someone go down and to see someone who needs some medical attention, who is dehydrated, who ran through the aid stations and is paying for it towards the finish line. The people who aren't hydrating appropriately. Again, I have a I'd say warm weather race coming up in 6 days. Okay, so starting tomorrow, starting on Monday, my number one goal in life is hydration. I will be hydrating. I'm going to drink so much water between Monday and Saturday. It's going to be ridiculous, but I have to go into that hot weather race very well hydrated. And I will not skip a hydration stop. I am not going to skip an aid station. I always take 2 drinks when I go through. I always try, if possible, drink the Gatorade first, have the water second, which kind of gets some of that aftertaste out of your mouth. And then on I go for another 1.5 miles or 2 miles, however far apart the aid stations are. And I do it all over again. Don't skip aid stations in hot weather races. Don't skip hydrating in preparation for hot weather races. All of it, super duper important. It is just as important as stretching or getting in a long run or hill work or track work or speed work or whatever. Hydration is key. Don't skip it. So that is something I want everyone to kind of keep in mind. Let's just finish it up with this. How to prevent common heat-related ailments. Blisters, chafing, and sunburn can strike anytime, but they're more common in hot weather. Here's how to treat these problems to prevent them from occurring in the first place. Let's see here. Black toenails. I've always wondered about black toenails. Lots of downhill running in too small shoes can bring these on. They cause your toes to slam into the front of your shoe. Wear properly fitted shoes and trim your toenails regularly. Once you have a black toenail, there's not much you can do. It'll usually heal on its own within a few months. But if it's really painful, see a podiatrist who may drain the fluid from your toenail. Okay, so that's something I've always wondered about black toenails. Not something I've ever really had a problem with, but I know a lot who do. Blisters. These are caused by friction, excessive moisture, sweaty feet, wet weather, or shoes that are too small, too big, or tied too tight. So be sure to buy properly fitted shoes. Because your feet can expand a half size over a day, shop in the late afternoon or evening. Putting Vaseline, sports lube, and bandages over blister-prone spots may also help. Ignore blisters smaller than 5 millimeters, the size of a pencil eraser, since they're usually not painful. But pop the big ones with a sterile needle. Prick the side of the blister and drain it. Don't remove the top of the blister. Instead, cover it with antibiotic ointment and moleskin or bandage. If you just heard me chuckle there, we're going to talk about this on another podcast. But if you haven't seen the movie Run, Fat Boy, Run, which is my absolute favorite running movie ever, there's a blister scene in that movie. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen that movie, the blister scene is both disgusting and hilarious all at the same time. Chafing, another big one. Chafing, skin to skin and skin to clothing rubbing can cause a red, raw rash that can bleed, sting, and make you yelp during your post-run shower. Boy, ain't that the truth. Moisture and salt on the body make it worse. Underarms, inner thighs along the bra line for women, and nipples for the men are vulnerable spots. To help prevent it, wear moisture-wicking seamless tagless gear. Fit is important. A baggy shirt has excess material that can cause irritation. A too snug sports bra can dig into the skin. Apply Vaseline, sport lube, Band-Aids, nip guards before you run. To treat chafing, wash the area with soap and water. Apply antibacterial ointment and cover with a bandage. Chafing is real. I'd say ask me how I know, but I bet you can figure out how I know. I'm sure most of you know as well. And yeah, that post-run shower after you chafed, it hurts. It hurts so bad. So yeah, definitely take care of that. I personally, for both chafing and for blisters, use Glide. It's a Glide. They make Foot Glide and Body Glide. I apply them where needed, and it works. I don't have problems with it as long as I remember to use my Glide. If I don't remember to use it, then I'm in for a bad time. Next is muscle cramps. The best way to prevent these is to be well trained, because fatigue seems to be the main reason for cramping in races and hard workouts. Plyometric training, bounding, hopping may lower your risk as well. And so may keeping well hydrated with a salty drink. Well, that was weird English on their part. If a cramp hits, stretch immediately. If your calf cramps, you're doomed. For instance, stop running, straighten out your leg, pull back on your toe, and hold that stretch for several seconds. You may need to continue this for 2 to 3 minutes, then massage the muscle to help ease the pain and get you ready to run again. Okay, calf cramps are the worst. I'm the kind of guy, I will wake up in the middle of the night with a calf cramp, and that I tell myself, this is how I go. This is how I'm going to be found, with this pain look on my face, holding my leg, because this is how I die. Next is sunburn. To lower your risk, avoid the sun between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., wear a hat, run in the shade, and wear sunscreen. Because sunscreen can't withstand prolonged exercise, stash some in your pocket or circle back around to your car so you can reapply every hour. You can also wear technical apparel that blocks UV rays. If you get sunburn, taking an anti-inflammatory and applying aloe vera a few times per day will take the edge off the pain. So there we go. In the opinion of Runner's World, this is a lot of the heat stuff we need to worry about. This is probably not going to be the only time that we discuss heat-related issues on this podcast, because really, I think heat-related issues can cause the most difficulty to your running. It can cause the most difficulty to your race times and just your overall happiness with running. Running in hot weather stinks for a lot. I personally don't mind it as long as I do it safely and correctly. I don't need to be on the track at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of July. Dumb idea, let's be honest. But I do like running when it's a little warmer. I like my legs being loose. I like getting a good sweat going. Then I feel more accomplished with my run. Maybe it's just me, but it's a mental game. And a lot of it is mental. Tell yourself what you need to tell yourself in order to get out there and go, even when it's really hot and you'd rather just sit in the air conditioning and watch TV. We got to get out there. We got to get those summer training runs in. I didn't expect to be talking about this in early May, but here comes the heat. It's coming for Kansas City. It's probably coming for your area as well. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'll be back next weekend, and I will be able to break down the last Running with the Cows half marathon. I've got that coming up on Memorial Day. I'll be at Loose Park for a 10K, and then we've got Hospital Hill coming up in the first weekend of June, which will be another half marathon. So for me, it's half marathon, 10K, half marathon. So no rest for the wicked there. And that's where we're going to be. I hope to see you guys out there. Find me at any of the races that you're at. Let me know where you're going to be. Feel free to drop your opinion. Anything you've got on warm weather running, share it with everyone. When we post this podcast, especially on Facebook, go to the comments section. Let us know what you think. You can always send the show any suggestions you have for future episodes. I would love to cover anything that you would like covered. I've got some stuff squirreled away that we're going to get to, some listener requested topics, which I just love to do. So that's where we're at. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe to the podcast, share it with all your friends, tell everyone you know about it, tell it to all your running buddies. And that is how we grow. Go to backofthepackpodcast.com. You can buy a shirt. You can read my blog that I do after every race, see pictures. We're really building the site up. So that's a lot of fun. And yeah, without you guys, I would be sitting here talking to no one. So thank you very much. My name is Kyle Walker. I'm your host. It is my pleasure. As always, this show is brought to you by OKKC Sports. It is produced by Katie O'Neill. It is our pleasure to bring it to you. Everyone, have a great week of training. Be careful in the heat, and we'll see you next weekend.